session on Friday, October 22nd after Maghrib. Saturday, October 23rd, ICNA, IACC, and Red Cross is hosting blood drive in our masjid premises. ICC Boys Retreat on October 30th at Spring Hill Retreat. ICC Youth Sisters Retreat at the same location the following day, October 31st. And ICC Annual Never Too Late Conference, Friday, November 19th, and Saturday, November 20th. All these programs you can sign up through our kiosk or online, inshallah. Dua request. We just prayed Janazah on dear brother Yasir Ayaz after the first Jumu'ah. He passed away last night. His burial is at Farmersville Cemetery in next hour, inshallah. Brother Wali Alam Usmani passed away in UK. Brother Den Suraidi Hamza passed away on Tuesday. Sister Sadia, wife of our dear brother Babir Chaudhry, is undergoing a critical surgery today. Sister Bashira Haidar is recovering from her illness. So please make dua for those who are sick and make dua for maghfirah for those who passed away. Assalamu alaikum.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا وعزيزنا وكريمنا ورحيمنا ونبينا وسندنا محمد رسول الله صلى الله تعالى عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وأزواجه وأنصاره وعلينا معهم. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تعالى عز وجل في القرآن المجيد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وكونوا مع الصادقين. وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم اتقوا الله حيثما كنت. Honorable ulama, venerated elders, respected brothers and sisters, and beloved youngsters, when we ask a Christian what does their faith mean to them, and we ask them to talk about Jesus, they will always generally say one word, and they will describe their faith with love, and that our faith is, and we love Jesus, and if you love Christ, you will be saved. And then it gives this notion to others that love and a religion that is motivated or pushed by love is uniquely and specifically Christianity. However, the love that we are required in Islam is far greater than any other religion requires. And the element of love that is part and parcel to our faith is far greater than any other faith. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى أكون أحب إليه من والده وولده والناس أجمعين. That none of you will be a true believer until I don't become more beloved to them than everything around them and everyone around them. And you think for a moment, you take a step back and you understand that what was it in the Sahaba radwanullahi alayhim ajma'een that made them want to be the best version of themselves? What was it about the tabi'een and the tabi'een and the last 14 centuries of Muslims that today is a struggle for many of us, especially those who were born here, of understanding where does love have, what position does love play in our religion? Whereas everything the Sahaba did was out of love, and the aspect of fear was secondary. But everything that they did from the beginning was out of love for Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And as it is the month of Rabi'ul Awwal, and the majority of the scholars say that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was born in this month. And we know for sure that Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam passed away in this month. He passed away on the 12th of Rabi'ul Awwal, on a Monday after Fajr. Inshallah, in 2 weeks, the end of this month, the last Friday, we will talk about the last 100 days of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam Friday evening, from his final Hajjatul Wada' till his final breaths in this world. So for a moment to step back and understand why do we love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, my dear beloved Ustad Hazrat Mufti Radaul Haq Hafidahullah wa Ra'ahu used to mention 6 reasons that any human being is beloved, or any person shows love to another individual. There's 6 reasons. There are multiple reasons, but I'm speaking about a platonic love. And all 6 of those can be found in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The first one is Jamal. When someone is beautiful, when someone is attractive, we automatically shift towards them. There's a narration talking about Sayyidina Mu'adh bin Jabal radiyallahu anhu, a'lamu bil halali wal haram. The Sahabi, the Prophet told himself, Ya Mu'adh, inni uhibbuk. Mu'adh, I love you. We all love the Prophet, but the Prophet went to Mu'adh and said, Mu'adh, man, I love you. Mu'adh, inni uhibbuk, I love you. Ya Mu'adh, I love you. So when one of the Tabi'een is describing Mu'adh bin Jabal, he says, I entered the masjid in Dimashq, in Damascus, وَرَأَيْتُ الرَّجُلَ أَبْرَقَ الثَّنَايَا, and I saw a man and his smile was so white and it was so bright. And it was just such a warm smile. You know, some people Allah has blessed them with a smile. And when they smile, then even your difficulties go away. And there's a beautiful dua when someone smiles, we make for them. And if you don't know the Arabic, say the English and learn the Arabic. When you see someone smile, the dua is أَضْحَكَ اللَّهُ سِنَّكَ أَضْحَكَ اللَّهُ سِنَّكَ. May Allah keep you smiling. May Allah always keep you in this state of smiling. Such a beautiful dua. أَضْحَكَ اللَّهُ سِنَّكَ. You see someone smiling? أَضْحَكَ اللَّهُ سِنَّكَ. May Allah keep you like this, my dear brother. Brothers, don't go to sisters and say أَضْحَكَ اللَّهُ سِنَّكَ. Or sisters the other way around. This is platonic again. And when it came to the beauty of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, يا صاحب الجمال يا سيد البشر بوجهك الجميل لقد نور القمر. The poet says, يا صاحب الجمال يا سيد القمر بوجهك المنير لقد نور القمر بعد أسقدا بزرقته قصة مختصر. The poet says, it's a formation of Persian and Arabic. He says, Ya Sahib al-Jamal, it isn't, O Muhammad, that you are beautiful, but it is that you are the definition of beauty. Hassan bin Thabit, when he describes the Prophet ﷺ, he says, وَأَحْسَنَ مِنْكَ لَمْ تَرَ قَطُّ عَيْنِي. More beautiful than you. My eyes have never seen a person who embodied character more beautiful than you. وَأَجْمَلَ مِنْكَ لَمْ تَلِدِ النِّسَاء. That is your inner beauty. Everyone first talks about the outer beauty first. Hassan bin Thabit, he was a poet of the Prophet ﷺ, and he says that, oh Rasulullah, your inner beauty is more beautiful than I have ever seen. But let me talk about your outer beauty. وَأَجْمَلَ مِنْكَ لَمْ تَلِدِ النِّسَاء. It is simple that no woman has the ability to give birth to a child more beautiful than you, Ya Rasulullah. So the poet says, Ya Sahib al-Jamal, you are the embodiment of the word beauty. You are the definition of it. وَيَا سَيِّدَ الْبَشَارَ. The Prophet ﷺ is the leader of mankind. The Prophet ﷺ says, أَنَا سَيِّدُ وُلْدِ آدَمْ وَلَا فَخَرْ. That I am the leader of all the humans that were created. On the day of judgment, the Prophet ﷺ will have the most elevated stance and the elevated place. And you know who will be around the Prophet ﷺ? You and I will be around in that ummah of Rasulullah ﷺ. And it will be said amongst all the other ummahs and all the other nations and 124 or 144,000 prophets and the billions and billions of people that have existed and the billions of jinns that have existed and the billions of malaika that have existed. And Allah will say, كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر. Your messenger was the greatest, but also your ummah is the greatest as well. You are also the greatest as well. So he says, Ya ana sayyid wuldi, I'm the leader. He says, Ya sahib al-jamal wa sayyid al-bashar. بِوَجْهِكَ الْمُنِيرِ لَقَدْ نَوَّرَ الْقَمَرِ. People say the sun takes its light. The people say the moon takes its light from the sun, but nay, the moon takes its light from your face, O Nabi of Allah. The simple conclusion is, Ba'da az khuda buzruktuhi qissa mukhtasar. Let me just make it simple. After Allah, after the Creator Himself, the next station amongst the creation, the most elevated station belongs to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is why it is in our aqeedah and it is in our belief that the Prophet is a creation of Allah. The Prophet is a creation, a makhluk of Allah. The arsh, the throne of Allah, is a makhluk and a creation of Allah as well. And a person is made from the dirt where they are buried. They are made from the dirt where they are buried. It is our aqeedah unanimously amongst every single sect in Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. There is no difference of opinion that the Prophet ﷺ is the greatest creation of Allah. So when you go to Madinatul Munawwarah and you're standing before the grave of Rasulullah, that peace of land that you're standing before, and that person that is lying in that grave is even greater than the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are the ummatis of the greatest creation. Khayra khalqillah. Khayr, which means the greatest of Allah's creations, out of all of the creations. Ba'da as khuda, buzruktuhi qissa muqtasar. So when it came to beauty, the Prophet's beauty was remarkable. Ma'bad describes the Prophet ﷺ. So she starts describing from eyelid to eyelash, to the pupil, to the whiteness, to the hair, to the crackle in the Prophet's voice. She starts describing him. And then she uses a word to describe him. And this word is only used 2 times in hadith. Once to describe the Prophet ﷺ, and once to describe Sayyidina Ja'far radiallahu anhu. Not Ja'far, Fadl bin Abbas in Sahih Muslim. Fadl bin Abbas was described. The word Wasim. In Arabic, Jamil means beautiful. Wasim means the more you look at them, the more beautiful they get. Wasuma yawsum, from karuma yakrum. And they say a name has an effect on a person, so perhaps it has an effect on me. But Wasim, so when she describes the Prophet, she says, Wasimun, Qasimun. Not Jamil. Jamil is too low. Jamil is basic. He's Wasim, he's Qasim, he's on a different level of beauty. This was the Jamal of Rasulullah. One of the Sahaba saw the Prophet and looked at the moon. Saw the Prophet, looked at the moon. The moon was full, bright. And he said, I was wondering, what's more beautiful, the moon or the Prophet? Then I realized the Prophet is more beautiful. Maulana Qasim Nanoti rahmatullahi alayh. He says in a poem, Chand se bhi tashbih dena, ye bhi kya insaf hai, uske chehre pe daag hai, inka chehra saaf hai. How can you even put the moon and the Prophet in the same statement? The moon is filled with craters and blemishes, while the Prophet has no blemish on his face. This was his Jamal. Okay, the next thing, Kamal. When a person exudes a great character ability. So for example, an athlete. Someone who's a good athlete, people automatically go towards them. Someone who's good at their job, people automatically respect them. Someone who's skillful, they have a kamal inside them, people automatically gravitate towards them. And the Prophet ﷺ, his kamal, where do we start? Alphabetically, chronologically? In which way do we start the kamal of the Prophet ﷺ? The man was the greatest doctor you can think of. He would give you spiritual healing. People would come to him and he would give you physical remedies. He was the greatest spiritual doctor. Spiritual remedies he would give to you. Ali radiallahu anhu comes, his eye is wounded. Another sahabi comes, eye is wounded, eye is popped out, dangling. Ya Rasulullah, my eye. The Prophet ﷺ says, you have a choice. Either get an eye in Jannah or take an eye right now. He says, Ya Rasulullah, take it right now. Prophet ﷺ puts it back in, does dua, eye is back. Ali radiallahu anhu comes, says that my eye is hurting. Rasulullah, I cannot see. The Prophet ﷺ takes the saliva, puts it inside. He says, this eye can see far better than this eye now. The Prophet ﷺ, the best of doctor, psychologist, a kid comes to the Prophet ﷺ, Ya Rasulullah, I have a problem. My sexual desires are through the roof. I can enter Islam, but Ya Rasulullah, I'm a sex addict. My mind is just thinking about this all the time. The Prophet ﷺ calls him, puts his hand on his heart, and the Prophet ﷺ says, my boy, tell me, if your mother was to happen to your mother like this, or your sister, or your daughter, or your aunt, how would you feel? And immediately, the Prophet was sincere in his advice, hand on the heart of the youngster, and the youngster immediately says, thinks about it, really thinks about it, that every girl is going to be a mother of someone, every girl is a daughter of someone, every boy is a son of someone, everyone has this relationship, and they have their lives that will move on. That why should I scar someone's life? Why should I harm someone's life? Why should I take something away? Why should I cause a blemish in someone's life? That this is not meant for me. So he understands this, and immediately his mind is cleared. The Prophet ﷺ, in terms of economics, he took a group of refugees and made them the most wealthiest people. His political understanding took the whole Arabian Peninsula, unified them. His diplomacy, reaching out and writing letters to the different kings. His ability to foster brotherhood and community development. You think about the Prophet's military strategy, Kamal over there. Community structure, Kamal over there. Building relationships, Kamal over there. Appointing leaders, Kamal kamal over there. Anything the man did, he excelled and exuded inside it. Number one is jamal, beauty. Number two is kamal. It's when you exude a skill, a good skill. Number three, nawal. Nawal is when you do something for someone else, when you do a favor for someone else. They say in Urdu, जब किसी के लिए एहसान करते हैं, जब किसी करीम के लिए एहसान करते हैं, तो वो एहसान का बदला एहसान से देता है. और जब किसी कमीने के साथ, खुद गर्ज इंसान के साथ एहसान करते हैं, तो अपने आप को खुदा समझता है. That there is a person who's of good character. If you do something good for them, all on their mind is, how do I repay this favor? هل جزاء الإحسان إلا الإحسان. You repay an ihsan with an ihsan. If you cannot, do dua, say jazakallah khairan. At least say thank you. But another person who's self-centered, selfish, no character, you do ihsan to them, they think, I deserve it. And they think that they are God. May Allah protect us from this. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what is his ihsan? He showed us hidayah. He showed us guidance. What is his ihsan upon us? He showed us how to live a life. We wouldn't know how to be with our families. We wouldn't know how to be with our children. We wouldn't know how to distribute our inheritance. We wouldn't know how to have akhlaq and character and how to deal with pain and harm and losing children and getting divorced and having daughters that are divorced. You look at the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's life and there's an example in every element and level, and you see this ihsan of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and finally getting us into the doors of Jannah. What bigger ihsan could of anyone be? The Prophet did dua for us before we were even born. No one has done dua for you before you were born besides the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Before you were born, before your parents were born, before their parents were born, before this country was born, before there were people living over here, Nabi alayhi salam was in sajda, his head pressing against not a carpet but the pebbles on the ground, and crying and doing dua, while his feet, because he's on the ground and on pebbles, his feet are getting blistered by it, and blood is trickling from the soft, gentle feet of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Aisha radiallahu anha says, Ya Rasulullah, has Allah not forgiven your sins? And he says, yes. Should I not be grateful? And then he says, I'm doing dua for my ummah. I'm doing dua for my ummah. ظلمت سنة من أحيا الظلام إن اشتكت قدماه الضر من ورمي. Alama Busari rahimahullah in Qasid Burda says, I have abandoned the way of the one who cried for me until his feet became blistered. You know, there's this hadith when you are going to the Prophet's grave that's written, and it gets me every time. And the hadith is, it's on the way to by Riyadh al-Jannah, right, on the way to the Rawdah. And the hadith is that shafa'ati li ahli kaba'ir min ummati. That the Prophet ﷺ says that on the day of judgment, I will be looking for the biggest sinners in my ummah, so I can intercede for them, so I can hold them by the hand and take them into Jannah. Shafa'ati li ahli kaba'ir min ummati. The love that we have, we don't even know the man. He doesn't know us, but yet his love for us supersedes anything that we know. Jamal, Kamal, Nawal, Hubbi la Zawal. Number 4, when someone loves you. You know, when someone, there's always people, we have people in our lives that love us. If we're smart about it, we repay the love. And if we're not, we don't appreciate it until people just move on and life just moves on. Hubbi la Zawal. Some people love us like from the depth of their hearts. That they have this genuine love. Sometimes it's an uncle, an aunt, a friend, a sibling, special person. It could be anybody. But that level of love, hubbi la zawal, it doesn't stop. That whether you're upset, you're happy, doesn't matter. The love is still there. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal rahmatullahi alayhi says, إِنَّ لَنَا إِخْوَانًا مَا نَرَاهُمْ فِي السَّنَةِ إِلَّا مَرَّةً وَلَكِنْ مَوَدَّتُهُمْ فِي قُلُوبٍ أَوْثَقُ مِنْهُمْ. There are people, we don't see them but once a year, but our love is ingrained for them. Hubbi la zawal. And the Prophet ﷺ, what was it on his mind? Ummati, ummati. Even on the day of judgment, where everybody else is not going to care about their parents, their siblings, their family, their friends, nobody. يَوْمَ يَفِرُّ الْمَرْءُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ وَأُمِّهِ وَأَبِيهِ وَصَاحِبَتِهِ وَبَنِيهِ لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مِّنْهُمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ شَأْنٌ يُغْنِيهِ. Allah says every day, that day everyone don't want to do with anyone else. No prophet, no person, no one. Besides Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who's saying, Ummati, Ummati, come to me, come to me. Let me talk to Allah on behalf of you. Hubbi la zawal, Jamal, beauty, Kamal, skill, Nawal, favor, Hubbi la zawal, love. Number 5, mal, when someone has wealth, when someone has money, you automatically like them. even if they're the biggest bakhil in the world. If a nice car, people go, Dr. Saab, mashallah. We're the biggest bakhil in the world. But no, people see him with someone with money, they get attracted to someone with money. And the Prophet ﷺ had so much. He used to have valleys. You know, like, think about, you know how to explain a valley? Imagine from Independence, Spring Creek, all the way down to Legacy, or even more ahead of that. Think of a whole valley like that, filled with goats. Now, what are you going to know about goats, right? Amazon trucks. It's a supply chain problem right now. Amazon trucks. From Spring Creek and Independence, all the way to Legacy. You just imagine, trucks lined up. And the Prophet is going by a valley like this. And there's a person, they're not Muslim yet. And he says, Muhammad, you have a lot of wealth. The Prophet says, does it really incite you? Do you like it? He said, yes. He said, it is all yours. Not, which one do you like? Let me give you something. I'll make a plan. I'll talk to my distributor. We'll do something for you. I know, it's nice, right? Take 1, take 2, take 10, take... everything is yours. تعود بسط الكف حتى لو أنه ثناها لقبض لم تطعه أنامله تراه إذا ما جئته متهللا كأنك الذي تعطيه أنت سائله هو البحر من أي نواحيه أتيته فلجته المعروف والجود ساحله ولو لم يكن في كفه غير روحه لجاد بها فليتق الله سائله. Time doesn't permit for those who understood the Arabic poetry. It's absolutely amazing. The Prophet's generosity was like the ocean, that if you came near to it, you got pearls. If you were far away, it gave you rain. Everyone got it. If you were near, you got the pearls. If you were far away, you got the rain. And the final thing, number 6. كونه كالوالد ونحن كالعيال. A fatherly figure, a mentor figure. That every single person who's like a mentor to us, we have a deep love. And the Prophet ﷺ said, أَنَا بِمَنْزِلَةِ أَبِيكُمْ. I'm like a father to you. So I'm a spiritual father for you all. And these 6 qualities are found. Jamal, beauty. Kamal, skill. Nawal, favor. Mal, wealth. Hubbe la zawal. Infinite love. كَوْنِهِ كَالْوَالِدْ وَنَحْنُ كَالْعِيَالِ. A fatherly figure. And all 6 things are found in Rasulullah ﷺ. Now in my last 2-3 minutes, I told you how we love the Prophet. I just want to tell you in the last 1 or 2 minutes a little bit about how Allah loves the Prophet. You know, in the Quran, 133 times Musa alayhi salam is mentioned by name. But Muhammad is only mentioned 4 times. Musa alayhi salam, most mentioned, 130. Other prophets more. So many, even Isa alayhi salam is mentioned more. But Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam 4 times by name. But how does Allah talk to him? Ya ayyuhan nabi qul li azwajik. Ya ayyuhan nabi. Oh Nabi, with this title. Ya ayyuhar rasul. Oh messenger. Okay. Let's go a little further. The Prophet is covering himself up with a garment, with a cloth. Ya ayyuhal muzammil, ya ayyuhal muddathir. Oh, you're covering yourself? Let me call you on how you're describing. Okay. Now let's move on to the next level. The other prophets are mentioned by name. Nabi alayhi salam mentioned only 4 times by his name. Other times, Allah talks to him with his title. And then the love gets even deeper. Allah begins to mention the organs of the Prophet in the Quran. Alam nashrah laka sadrak. Have we not opened your chest? Wa anqadha dhahrak. And your back. La tumaddanna aynayka. Your eyes. Wa la tabsud yadaka. And your hand. Ila unuqika. To your neck. فَلَنُوَلَّ قَدْ نَرَى تَقَلُّبَ وَجْهِكَ. We saw your face. وَلَا تُحَرِّكْ لِسَانَكَ. And you shaking your tongue, oh Muhammad. Every limb of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Allah is counting. Oh Muhammad, the others I took by name. You, oh Muhammad, my love for you is such that I count your organs, your fu'ad, your heart into the Quran, your feet into the Quran, your hands into the Quran, your neck into the Quran, your eyes into the Quran, your ears into the Quran. وَالضُّحَى وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى. Oh Muhammad, your beautiful bright face. وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى. Your dark hair, your long hair, your zulfi that are stringing, وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى, elements of the Prophet ﷺ Allah mentions. And at the end Allah says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَمَلَائِكَتَهُ يُصَلُّونَ عَلَى النَّبِيِّ يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا صَلُّوا عَلَيْهِ وَسَلِّمُوا تَسْلِيمًا. And I'll end off with the last statement. The Sahaba were discussing, they were talking amongst each other, and they were talking about the different titles of the prophets. And they said, you know, Adam, he is Safiyullah, the chosen one of Allah. Musa is Kalimullah. Musa is the one who speaks to Allah. Ibrahim is Khalilullah. Ibrahim is the best friend of Allah. And Isa is the Ruh of Allah, the Spirit of Allah. The Prophet ﷺ came and he said, what are you talking about? What is going on? They said, Ya Rasulullah, we're talking about the titles of the different prophets. And the Prophet ﷺ says, Allah has made me Habibullah, the beloved of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in another place, out of all of the prophets, they each have their titles. They're Musa Khalilullah, Isa Ruhullah. But with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah put his name next to it. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Qur'an al-azim. Nafa'na wa iyyakum bil ayati wa dhikr al-hakim. Astaghfirullah li wa lakum wa lisa'il muslimina fastaghfiruhu innahu huwal ghafurur rahim. الحمد لله علي الأجل الواحد الفرد القديم الأول فأنت مليك الناس ربا فاقبل ثم الصلاة على النبي الأفضل فإني أولا أبدأ بأمر قد بدأ الله تعالى بنفسه ثم ثنى ملائكته المقربين وثلثنا به قال بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد بعدد من صلى وصام وصل على محمد بعدد من قعد وقام وصل على جميع أصحاب رضوان الله تعالى عليهم أجمعين وعلينا معهم اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم اشف مرضانا ومرضى المسلمين اللهم اغفر لنا ولوالدينا ولأزواجنا ولأولادنا ولمشايخنا ولتلاميذنا ولمن له حق علينا يا رب العالمين اللهم انصر من نصر دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم واخذل من خذل دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم حبب إلينا الإيمان وزينه في قلوبنا وكره إلينا الكفر والفسوق والعصيان واجعلنا من الراشدين اللهم ارزقنا الحج والعمرة إلى بيتك يا رب العالمين اللهم حرر المسجد الأقصى اللهم حرر المسجد الأقصى اللهم حرر المسجد الأقصى إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون أقم الصلاة
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
استووا واعتدلوا فإن تسوية الصفوف من تمام الصلاة الله أكبر الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين سبح اسم ربك الأعلى الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فهدى والذي أخرج المرعى فجعله غثاء أحوى سنقرئك فلا تنسى إلا ما شاء الله إنه يعلم الجهر وما يخفى ونيسرك لليسرى فذكر إن نفعت الذكرى سيذكر من يخشى ويتجنبها الأشقى الذي يصلى النار الكبرى ثم لا يموت فيها ولا يحيا قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. هل أتاك حديث الغاشية وجوه يومئذ خاشعة عاملة ناصبة تصلى نارا حامية تسقى من عين آنية ليس لهم طعام إلا من ضريع لا يسمن ولا يغني من جوع وجوه يومئذ ناعمة لسعيها راضية في جنة عالية لا تسمع فيها لاغية فيها عين جارية فيها سرر مرفوعة وأكواب موضوعة ونمارق مصفوفة وزرابي مبثوثة أفلا ينظرون إلى الإبل كيف خلقت وإلى السماء كيف رفعت وإلى الجبال كيف نصبت وإلى الأرض كيف سطحت فذكر إنما أنت مذكر لست عليهم بمسيطر إلا من تولى وكفر فيعذبه الله العذاب الأكبر إن إلينا إيابهم ثم إن علينا حسابهم. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.